Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Yakima OnRamp LX and we're going to see how it fits on the back of our 2023 Rivian R1T. The OnRamp is a really solid option for a bike rack, primarily because of the included ramp, that's where it gets its name, but just on its own it can handle some pretty heavy e-bikes. With an 80-pound capacity per bike, again, most of those e-bikes are going to be just fine because it's really high for e-bike capable racks. It's going to primarily hold the bike by the frame using these cradles. They can be height adjusted along the mast and they rotate 360 degrees. So they're great for alternative frame, just not the best for carbon frame because they do make frame contact. Your secondary points of contact will be down on each wheel, pulling down and in, creating a very stable hold on the bike. The OnRamp does have a tilting feature. It's not the easiest to use though, and you'll do that just by going near the license plate on your R1T and locating some pins. The one on the passenger side is a secondary safety pin, so you can just pop that out. And the one on the left, I'll pinch and pull, and that will release the rack down. It doesn't have a super aggressive tilt, and it's certainly not enough to clear the tailgate on your Rivian, but it's a little extra room to step in here and grab something out of the back if we needed to. But for me, I really don't mind the lack of tailgate access since we have our gear tunnel on the R1T. It's a perfect place to store your helmet or your shoes, or just have a place to sit down and change your shoes before or after your ride. Now the real star of the show here is the included ramp. It stores right on the rack, so we'll just undo this gray hand knob and pull that out. And it will come in two pieces, so there's another hand knob on the back that'll undo, separate the two halves, and secure it down in the expanded position. This part can get a little awkward because there's a lot of separate components, but it's a metal ramp, it's nice and wide, and again, it's included, so I don't have to pick this up separately to load and unload my bikes. We'll just attach that to the end of our tray by pushing it in at this upward angle and dropping it down so that the teeth grab. And we can start to unload our bike. Starting off with these wheel straps. The gray button will release the strap and we can pull that out and tuck it away using the included strap keepers on each cradle. And once we've done that on both sides, we can move on up to the mast. And that's where we'll just have another strap around the frame of our bike. When we undo this though, we just want to keep one hand on the bike so that it doesn't tilt away and hit the truck. It can be a little tricky, but it's not too bad overall. And once we're all undone there, I can just back that off and down the ramp. Just watching for our pedal around the mast as we ease it down. The one thing I will say about the ramp is, although it's useful, it's going to be pretty steep just due to the higher ground clearance of the R1T, but it's still nice to have it included, and once we're done, we can just pack it up the same way we took it off. With the bikes unloaded though, we can get a few measurements, starting off with our ground clearance. At the back end, the lowest point to the ground is these hand knobs, and that's going to be about 24 inches from the ground. You're not going to really have to worry about bottoming out, it's just more so how high the rack sits at that point. And then from our bumper to the furthest point out, we're looking at 26 inches. That's pretty compact for a 2-bike rack, and one of the more compact ones we've tested on this Rivian today. We can fold this up for even further storage if we want to leave it in the hitch between rides though. To do that, we'll start at our mast and just follow it down to the bottom where we've got a pin that we can pull and release the whole thing down. It's going to grab into these arms and go in towards the license plate where we had those 2 pins from earlier. Only this time, instead of tilting the rack away, we're going to push it up towards the vehicle. That driver's side pin will relatch and we can pop back in the passenger side. And this will be our compact stored position. Now, our new measurement from the bumper here is gonna be a pretty impressive 8 inches. So, if you're worried about space as you're driving around, this isn't really gonna take up much if you choose to leave it in the hitch between rides. When it's all folded up like this, it's not gonna block your light bar or your turn signals or anything like that because it is so compact, but the trade-off there is we are completely blocking that license plate and backup camera. The backup camera is okay because you have the option to switch to the bed camera when putting it in reverse, but the license plate has absolutely no visibility. So keep that in mind depending on the state you're in. Just check your local laws and regulations, and if you have to have it visible, you might consider getting a license plate relocation kit that Yakima makes for this. Down at the hitch, we're fitting in this 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube, and it does include a locking anti-rattle bolt that keeps things nice and solid and secure in the hitch. But overall, the Yakima OnRamp LX isn't my favorite bike rack, mainly because of the tilting feature. The pins that you need to pull to use it, I just find to be really clunky. But for the Rivian R1T, since you have the gear tunnel, I just would not use the tilt feature at all. I'd put my things that I needed access to inside the truck or in the gear tunnel and just not worry about the tilting feature, because everything else about this bike rack works really well with the truck in my opinion. And again, because you have the option to get a license plate relocation bracket, then blocking the license plate becomes a non-issue for me. It is a separate piece you have to pick up, but in my opinion, if you're looking for a bike rack with a ramp, this is going to interact with the Rivian R1T the very best. But today, this was just our look at the Yakima OnRamp LX on our 2023 Rivian R1T. My name's Aiden, and thanks for watching.